everyone tonight. It's a great thing to see this big of a turnout. I hope everybody can hear me. Can you hear me okay? Okay. It's a great sight to see Powdersville turn out for something that's so important. Before we get into the meat of the meeting, and we're going to talk about a lot of stuff tonight, I want to ask Senator Richard Cash if he would give our invocation and pledge of allegiance.
Let's pray. Thank you, gracious God and Heavenly Father, for all of your many blessings. Thank you for life and health. We thank you for all those who are concerned about their community and have come out tonight. Pray your blessings upon this meeting and our thoughts and discussions together in Christ's name. Amen. If you'll please stand and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're going to start off tonight with introductions. There's a lot of different groups of people here tonight, and I want to make sure that we recognize as many as we can. First and foremost, my name is Jimmy Davis. If you don't know me, I'm your County Council rep for County Council District 6. This is School District 1, but it's County Council District 6. And so Powdersville and Piedmont, the 3 and 20 area, is the district that I represent for you for Anderson County. I'm a native here, was born and raised here, went to Wren, graduated in 1988. I have business cards in the back, and I've got more somewhere in one of these pockets on my coat. But I want to recognize the groups that I know are here tonight. First and foremost, if you work for Anderson County School District 1, would you please stand and kind of wave your hand so we know who you are? No, Dr. Benner. All right. Thank you for being here tonight. Anderson County employees, we've got a lot here. I know our administrator, our deputy administrator, our director of governmental affairs, roads and bridges, finance, Miss Rita Davis, wave your hand. She's the numbers lady that provides us all with the numbers. Did I forget anybody from the county? Oh, Matt Shell, Parks and Rec. Matt's the big, giant, tall guy there in the back. I also want to recognize the folks from Play. If you are here with Powdersville Play, just wave your hands. That's a great representative, and I thank you for being here tonight. We're glad you're here. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about, and tonight's meeting is about Dolly Cooper Park. So that's what we're going to talk about. We're not going to talk about roads and bridges. We're going to talk about Dolly Cooper Park. We're not going to talk about any kind of taxes too much. We're going to talk about Dolly Cooper Park. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. And we're going to talk about going forward from today. And I don't want to get bogged down and talk about what's going on in the last 10 or 14 years. I want to talk about what we're going to do with Dolly Cooper from the day on. Because that's what's important to me. I also want to introduce and give them a few minutes of your time here. Introduce Senator Richard Cash and Representative Wes Cox, and they're going to talk a little bit about their role in how they represent you in Columbia. Wes is going to go.
Thank you, Jimmy, and thank you everybody for coming again. I'm Wes Cox. I'm State House Representative for this area, Piedmont, Powdersville, and 3 and 20, along with some other areas. Senator Cash and I are here tonight, and he'll get to speak too. And we just one to support you and to hear from you, to hear because when we go to Columbia and looking for ways to bring money, state money back to this area, we need to know where it's going for. And I think this room kind of shows where they want to get it spent in this area. But we're here to support the county in their role up here and do anything we can for them. So that's why we wanted to come out here and listen to everybody tonight. And I've got cards in the back. I'll stick around afterwards for as long as y'all want to, as long as the fire department will keep the lights on. So.
Thank you. I am Richard Katz. I'm the senator for Powdersville. Actually, the district I represent goes from Pottersville to Townville. It goes from Pendleton to the center of Anderson. So I am actually a resident of Pottersville. I live just a few minutes from Hurricane Springs Park. Previously, I used to live down here not too far from Dolly Cooper Park. Anyway, what's probably more pertinent, especially for some of y'all from the sports group, is that I have been in your shoes for a long, long time. I started Easley Homeschool Athletics in 2002. I've got 8 children. They all played soccer, volleyball, flag football, basketball. I probably coached 20 basketball teams and 20 soccer teams in that period of time. And I was athletic director for that group for about 10 years. So I know what it's like to try to find fields to play on, and I've had to do a lot of that, finding gyms to play in. And so we are definitely very interested in what's going on down at Dolly Cooper Park and how we can make improvements to it. County staff here has been very helpful in working with us, and I'd just like to say, as far as Councilman Davis and Representative Katz, that I have been working with them since they were elected. I find them to be very engaged in what they're doing, very interested in being of service, and I commend them for what they've done to this point and having this meeting tonight, and turn it back over to Jimmy at this time.
Thank you both. I also wanted to introduce Mayor Blake Sanders from West Pelton. Wait your hand. Blake is one of our best allies as far as design, architecture, and planning and things of that nature, and he's going to be real involved going down the road with Dolly Cooper. So with all that being said, I wanted to kind of bring you up to speed of where we are as a county in Dolly Cooper. And I can honestly say, before I got my hands into some of the numbers, I was a lot like you. I said, boy, the county bought that property. I need to check myself. The Spearman family. They're very important. How many Spearman people? Okay. If you didn't know, that was the old Spearman property down there before it was bought, and it was named Dolly Cooper Park. So I wanted to make sure we recognize the Spearman family, because it's important that we acknowledge the history of our land. Whether you've been here your whole life or whether you've just come in, I think it's important that we acknowledge, as part of who we are in Powdersville, as part of who we are in the upstate, is acknowledge the history of what we've gone through and what we have. I mean, I've been here 49 years. So I think that's part of it, and I want to make sure we retain some of that history and make sure that we pass that on to the young folks that will be out there enjoying the park years from now. So with that being said, I was talking about, I said, well, we kind of bought that property as a county, and we really hadn't done a whole lot with it. So, and as time went on, we've now built a football field out there, and then we've got a kayak launch out there, and that's about the extent of it. But looking into it further, I was kind of surprised to see how much money we've actually spent at Dolly Cooper Park as a county. As a county, not just the district. The county is entirely, and Ms. Davis, correct me if I'm wrong, the county has invested $2.1 million in Dolly Cooper Park. That's a lot of money. That includes the purchase price, right? So purchasing the property and the investment we put into it is right now stands up to date is around right at $2.1 million. That's a lot of dollars. So I was shocked to see that, but we've got a long way to go. And so going forward, we've got some projects that are in the works now. So we recently were able to grab some water rec money, and that money has to go towards water. But we were able, through our State House representative and Senator Katz and others, we were able to work our way in. We got some water rec money, and anytime we can get money, and we can get it and put it up here in this district, we're going to grab it. And sometimes that money has to go to certain projects because that's just the way it's stipulated. It has to be spent. But it also frees up some other money we could spend in other places. But we were able to grab some water rec money, and you may have seen some of the stuff in the newspaper and on the internet that came out, and it talks about a walking trail. it talks about improvements to our existing kayak launch, which is not ADA compliant. The federal government says we have to be, when we do a project, it has to be ADA compliant. That makes things really expensive, unfortunately, but that's, Mr. Benneker can tell you all about ADA compliance in these schools that he's building. But so we were able to grab this money that we could spend down the river. So, and that totals about $350,000 that we're going to be putting in down on the river. That money didn't come out of your millage rate. It didn't come out of the taxes. There's no tax increase to pay for that. We got that money, and we're able to spend it on there. So it was roughly $205,000 from state water rec funds. And the remainder of it we got from the county accommodation tax. So when people come through, especially on football weekends and stay in hotels in Anderson County, they pay an accommodation tax. So we were able to grab some of that money and invest up there to complete that project. We were able to get $200,000 from the state, like I say. So that will give us a 1,500-foot walking trail paved that's ADA compliant, and we'll be able to take the existing kayak launch and make it ADA compliant. So that will kind of take care of that part of the park down there for a good while to come. We also have some, and Matt can correct me if I'm wrong, down the road, we're hoping we're going to have enough money to put a smaller kind of a takeout down in the back corner down there. There's an old concrete abatement or weir down there, to with if people want to put in up top an inner tube or float down that 1,500 feet and walk back up the trail, they can, especially with families with smaller kids that don't want to float 9 miles to Piedmont, they can float 1,500 miles and do it several times in a day. It gives a good option for recreation on the river down there. So we're hoping that's going to be part of what we're doing. Going forward, we're also looking, and we've had some meetings with the play folks. And, you know, one of the first things that I saw when I pulled in Dolly Cooper Park, besides the football field, was a backstop. Who's driven in there and said, well, that's kind of a weird thing. There's just a backstop and nothing else there. So we talked with play, and one of their top priorities was to get a baseball field that they could use. You know, so we as a county have made that priority number one, is to get that baseball field in usable order. We've got an event coming up in May. We'll talk about that here soon. But our goal is to be able for you to be able to program that for fall ball. And so to get in that baseball field, and I tell you, Powdersville Play has been phenomenal to work with. They've given us not some list that's way out there. They've given us a realistic list, which includes not just sports activities, but things like picnic shelters and bathrooms and things going down that road. And so we're going to be working with them and the community to develop a master plan for Dolly Cooper. Now, a master plan was done about 10 years ago. How much has this area changed in 10 years? A lot. A whole heck of a lot. So we're going to be looking with Blake back here and looking at doing a new master plan. Well, that master plan is not really good if we all get in a closed room and do it by ourselves, is it? So we want to involve the community. We want to know what you want there. Since we announced this meeting, I've gotten a ton of emails. And surprisingly enough, the emails come in and they say, you know, we want sports there, but we also want other things there. There's a disc golf course out there. There's a lot of people, believe it or not, that are playing disc golf out there. I don't know the number of rounds that are getting played out there, but it's a good many. Disc golf is a thing that's taking off county-wide. So there's a lot of different people in this community that have different wants and desires out there. And I want to make sure that we grab the scope of the community when we're doing this master plan. So that's something we're going to be working forward with. That's something we're going to be having involvement meetings and focus group meetings, and I'll try to have them at different times and maybe a different day to where, because there's a lot of people that kids might be playing sports tonight, or there's a lot of people that can't make it on a Monday or a Thursday night or whatever. So we may shake it up a little bit and have it on different times and days to make sure that we give everybody a fair chance to have an input on what they want to do with this wonderful piece of property we have out there. So I'm going to call them kind of visioning sessions that we'll have going forward. Blake knows volumes more about this than I do. He's a wonderful asset to the county. We're glad to have him working with us. So we'll be doing that going forward. So stay tuned. One of the best ways to stay in touch with me is either through email. I'm on Facebook under James Davis. That's my proper name, but you can probably search Jimmy and find me. And also like Anderson County. That's a very, very important thing, because believe it or not, there's a lot going on in Anderson County, and there's a lot of people in Anderson County up here a lot. It's that they don't, the perception is they're never up here, but believe it or not, they're up here a lot, and I live here, so I'm always up here. But like Anderson County on Facebook, if you're on Facebook, because there's a lot of information that comes out. I've always got things, there's always videos going on, and you can link up with me on Facebook as well. This it's kind of hard. One of the main complaints that we never know about what's going on. So I try my best to communicate with the social media folks as much as I can in any other way that a lot of you, I have your cell phones. I'll text you if I. So we'll try our best to be as communicative as we can when these vision meetings start happening. One of the things I also want to talk about is funding sources. How do we get things done at Dolly Cooper? And West and Senator Katz may have some input on this, but how that's a question. I see this a lot. Well, we pay a lot of taxes, and we do. We pay a lot of taxes. We are blessed in this area to have, I believe, the finest school district in the state. I believe that we are blessed in this district to have the most conservative financially school district in the state. If you're having trouble sleeping some night, pull up Act 388, just Google it and read it, South Carolina Act 388. You'll learn a little bit about why we have some of the best and some of the most conservative people in our school, in our leadership in our school district, and how they do the most with a lot less money than a lot of other people in the state get. They do a great job for us. That being said, when you pay your taxes, the county is operating on average about 28 to 30% on the dollar. So the rest of that money goes to fund the schools, the school bonds, the fire, the museums, and things of that nature. So the rest of it goes to the county budget. Let's just say it's 30%. So we run our sheriff's department out of that and all our other county operations out of that. It is my opinion that county millage that you pay on your house and your car is not the way to fund parks or paved roads or anything else, because the money's just not truly there for us to do that. So we've got to find ways, and I'm not going to vote to raise your taxes. I'm a lifelong resident. I've seen my taxes go up and up and up with millage. I want us to go find that money other places, because we can get bigger pieces of money and bigger chunks of money by working with our friends down at the state level. And Steve Newton, who's our Director of Governmental Affairs, one of the best grant writers out there. He's out constantly searching for us to find grants, to work with people like Play, to work with people that want to invest in our community, to find grants where we can go out and find pockets of money to invest in our communities. Wes, do you want to add anything on funding?
I just want to talk a little bit about the funding from the state perspective. There's sort of 4 different pots of funds from a state perspective, and I rolled up my notes, so just 2 of those are Parks and Recreation Development Funding grants. Those are what we refer to as PARD grants, and those are controlled by your local legislative delegation. So the members Senator Cash and I and the other members in Anderson County. And that's a state grant program for local government or special purpose districts within each county to provide for recreation opportunities. So that's a fund that has to go just for recreational items. It requires a 20% local match. So what that means is any money that Senator Cash and I are able to get for this area requires 20% match of local funds, meaning county funds. So any grant we get from that is a state and local county partnership. And so those amounts for variation available for that varies year to year. That's money that comes from playing bingo and the tax off of the bingo tax. And that varies from year to year. Typically, the Anderson County historically has handed out those grants in numbers 5,000, 10,000, 15,000, and not a lot more than that. Last year there was a $30,000 grant, and that was the biggest grant they'd had in about 5 years. So we're not talking about large sums of money for those that are allocated on those. You're looking at $10,000 to $30,000 in projects. Another fund that Jimmy's already referenced is the Department of Natural Resources Water Recreation Fund. Again, that's one that's controlled by your local legislative delegation, and it requires use along water. And so in Anderson County, we've got Lake Hartwell and we've got Saluda River. So those are two things that we can use those on. It also has some other requirements, such as, there always has to be public access to the site where those are spent. And so when you start talking about gates and things, that negates the ability to use water recreation funds for those. So there's always some sort of wrinkle in state funds. That amount, those funds are derived from boat taxes, boat registration fees. So if you own a boat, thank you. If you don't, please go buy one so we can have some more money for that next year. And that's one, when Councilman Davis mentioned the $350,000 money getting ready to be spent at Dolly Cooper Park, 205 of that, 205,000 is coming from that water recreation fund. 75,000 was just allocated this past December by the legislative delegation, and then there was 130,000 or so, and all those are approximate numbers, that was left over from years before that just wasn't enough there really to spend. So that's where that's coming from. So those are two funds that we as your State House representatives kind of help control and can help allocate. And we always try to look for ways that we can work with the county up here to spend those and put it back in our community. But there are restrictions on those and how we can use them. And then there's state budget funds. So those are funds out of your state tax dollars that we can try to get in the budget next year. The difference in those funds and the local funds is, yes, we could probably attempt to get more, but there's 140 or 124 House members and 46 senators that also we have to work with and get that, and they're also trying to get money into their communities. So when we talk about state budget funds for things like recreation and parks, it's not doable. I mean, it's certainly doable, but it just takes a little bit longer, and it may take a few years to get those pushed through. And then the other funds are grants. There are different grant programs which the county would have to apply for, and we can certainly help with those. But I just wanted to touch on that. There's sort of 4 funding mechanisms that are controlled by the state, and that the Senator Cash and I can kind of help with.
One of the things I've learned in the past few years in being a senator is that things are very expensive. I've learned that quickly when trying to understand the road situation and why it takes so long, it seems, to get roads paved. Well, you find out pretty quickly it takes about $1 million to pave a mile of roads. And so some of the things you look at and you say, well, you know, let's get this done or let's get that done. It's not ever as cheap as I would have thought it would have been. And as has been mentioned and probably will be mentioned again, in all these recreation and parks, development projects have to be ADA compliant. And so I'm just going to give you one little example. The project here to take this roughed out baseball field with the backstop that's down at Dolly Cooper Park, we're looking at about $130,000 to do that. To do it in the way that it's got to be done. And the PARD money that he was talking about that comes back from the state, Parks and Recreation Development money that Wes and I get to vote on as to allocating it throughout the county, that's about the entire budget that we get back from the state for 1 year, is about $130,000. And so you can see that there's a need to get a field done. It costs a good bit of money. Obviously, we cannot do one PARD grant and pay for a field, so it's going to be done in other ways. But I'm just trying to kind of give you an idea of what I experienced when I got into office and started dealing with some of these numbers is just really sticker shock at what it costs to get some of these things done. And it's not like we can just fork out $10,000 and get that field baseball ready. It just doesn't work like that. So I just want to say that almost kind of from a layman's perspective, because it was surprising to me. But we will do what we can as delegation members. But also, please understand, you know, I have a responsibility to represent half the county. You know, I've asked the county staff just to keep me aware of other recreation needs in other parts of the county, because that's my responsibility. Not just Pottersville, but Townville, Pendleton, all the area in between the unincorporated parts of the county. There's also parks out there, so we're trying to do it in a fair way. But I will say this, for Pottersville's behalf, I think you have good and effective and engaged representation, and it doesn't hurt to have the senator from Pottersville.
And he's real tall, so he sticks above the crowd where I don't. You know, talking about the $130,000 to get play and a baseball field that's usable is getting it up, and it's kind of the minimum standard to get it up to ADA compliance. Those three letters make things really expensive. We're going to say it over and over and over again, but the federal government says we have to do it. If we do something, it has to be ADA compliant. It's just like when we got that water rec money, Mr. Shell here has to, and Mr. Sanders back there have to make, they got to get that gangway down to that kayak launch ADA compliant. It's not now. So for us to be able to do that work down on the river, which we got the money to do, that's the first thing that's got to happen, right, Matt? So we're in the process of getting funding, and these guys up here, this group with the county and the group with the state, we're out grabbing every little piece of pocket of money that we can get for Dolly Cooper. That's my promise to you. There are a lot of parks in Anderson County. District 6 has one, Dolly Cooper. So we're fighting for it. Two, I'm sorry, I forgot about Hurricane Springs. Hurricane Springs, but Dolly Cooper is the focus. And these folks up here, and we've got two ladies that came in here that are from our planning department tonight. If you've been to one of the planning session meetings, we had 8 meetings in the district, and they were up here. So there's a good group of people from Anderson County here, and they're willing to along with us, to walk us through this process and to help us get there, and to take our vision and put it into this master plan, and we can put some hard numbers to it. We can put some timelines to it. Will we hit every number and every goal and objective? Probably not. But if we don't start somewhere, we'll never get there, right? So there's, I've had some people ask me, say, well, You know, you go over to Easley and they've got the ball fields. You go to Anderson, they've got the big sports complex. And I want to tell you how kind of some of that is paid for is through hospitality tax. And the incorporated areas of Anderson County, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Burns, you correct me if I'm wrong, have hospitality tax, okay? So when you go to a restaurant, you pay a little tax. It might be a couple of cents, and I don't know.
2 cents on the dollar.
How much?
2 cents on the dollar.
2 cents on the dollar. Easley has it, Greenville has it. That is where they drive a lot of their revenue for their parks and their recreation is through hospitality tax. We have accommodation tax on hotel rooms, but we don't have hospitality tax. If you remember, a little over a year ago, that was on the last election. We had that was on the ballot whether or not we would be interested in a hospitality tax. And Powdersville Precinct and Concrete Precinct voted 69% against a hospitality tax. Okay, so I just wanted to bring that was kind of why I think it's come up before, but it's done for a while. So the question of hospitality tax, I'm not sure the state law, it's 4 years, I believe. So that hospitality tax is gone for 4 years. We're not going to have that, and so I just wanted to bring that forward. And that's how a lot of counties fund their Parks and Rec departments, through people going to a restaurant and eating and paying an extra quarter a meal or whatever, and that's where that money comes from. So I want to make sure that people understand what hospitality tax is, how you pay it, and where a lot of people spend their money. Upcoming events, we've got some great events coming up, and there are some members I know here of the Powdersville Business Council. I know Craig, you better see these here. Anybody else here from Powdersville Business Council? Holly. Johnny back there. Johnny Harbin's back there. So the Powdersville Business Council has a fantastic event coming up called Rhythm on the River, and that's May 2nd. And it will be at Dolly Cooper Park. They're going to have live music and a lot of different things going on. And this is a great time for the community to come out and enjoy Dolly Cooper Park and experience it and see if you. There's a lot of people in there have never gone down there. Because I'll talk to people up here and they say, well, I'll never go down there. But this is an opportunity for that to happen. We're looking forward to May 2nd. Mark that on your calendar. There's more coming out on the internet, I know. Also on June 2nd will be the 11th annual Saluda River Rally. Last year we had over 300 boaters put in at Dolly Cooper Park. And we're hoping to top that this year. Some get out in Piedmont, some get out in Pelzer, but it's a great time. So that'll be June the 2nd. And Play is programming. Of course, they've got the football field out there. We're going to have baseball, hopefully, out there in the fall. So there's a lot of things going on out there. Want to bring you up, there's been some questions about mowing the grass out at Dolly Cooper. We're in the process of getting some bids on that, of how we can do a better job at keeping Dolly Cooper cut down and mowed and a little bit more attractive. The sheriff didn't make it in. I think he was at a men's retreat with his church. I talked to him Friday. I talked to the sheriff about, there's been some riffraff in the past out there. We've seen some reduction in that. There's still a lot of, when it rains, we still have a lot of kids out there doing donuts and digging mud holes with their trucks. The sheriff has pledged to do his best to keep somebody out there, but that's, it's not, he can't be out there 24/7. He's got Walmart to take care of. I call that the sheriff's substation over there. But so the sheriff is committed to it as well. The sheriff he lives in the northern part of the county, but it's also our responsibility when we're out there. And I know as we continue to develop Dolly Cooper Park and we continue to program sports events out there and water rec and disc golf events out there, that the more it's used, the less riffraff's going to be out there in the park. But if you're out there and you see something, call it in, call 911, get tag numbers if you can, take pictures. because I want the community to buy into this park. It's important for us to buy into it and be a part of it, and we all share in a responsibility. And I can tell you this from working with the great folks down at the Piedmont Crime Watch, and Charlene Speltz is here from there. The more the community buys into it, the better it gets, and it's a quick transition. So if you're down there and you see something going on, call it in. And if you don't, I can promise you this, if you don't get the response from the sheriff's department that you don't think you're getting, you either call myself or call Sheriff McBride and we'll take care of it. Because he is 100% behind this effort, and he just wanted to make sure that if he didn't make it to the end of the night, that I conveyed his dedication to providing law enforcement for this area. While we're on law enforcement, I do want to say this. We are getting closer to having a fueling substation for the sheriff's department in Powdersville, and that will keep deputies on the beat longer from having to fuel. Down the road, we'd love to be able to see a substation up here with some holding cells to where the sheriff doesn't have to send a deputy all the way to the county to the lockup. So the sheriff and I are working very closely to try to find ways to keep his deputies and his SRO officers up here longer where they don't, and we can also take advantage of how great the county buys fuel. So we're really close to this fueling substation, so that look forward to that to come in the near future. And the sheriff's excited about it. His deputies are ultra excited about it. They can spend more time doing what we hire them to do. So with that being said, I don't have, that's about all I have, and we covered a lot. I know there's a lot of questions, so I'm going to open up the floor. Hold on, Mr. Burns.
Would you like to have Blake come up and discuss the master plan process?
Yes.
And the ball field? Blake? Sir? Would you discuss the master plan process and also the work that you'll be doing on the baseball field? Sure.
So the master planning process, and I've been fortunate enough to get to do this all over the country, but the master planning process starts with a group of stakeholders first, and so that includes county representatives, staff, folks from Powdersville Clay, but then also local citizens. And so those staff get together, kind of start with the framework, and then the visioning and stakeholder sessions start after that. So the visioning sessions, there are online portals that you get to use, there are public forums, public meetings, drop-in sessions, and that's just where input is given, is kind of regurgitated back out in the form of multiple plans. Normally what we do, we put them up on the wall, and then you get to kind of use the dots for things you like, or red dots for things you don't like. And then from there, that plan gets solidified down a little bit further, and then cost estimates, kind of a grant worksheet, a permitting worksheet, and then you kind of know this is the plan of what the community said they wanted. Here's what it cost, and then here's how we're going to fund it. So for you said the two projects. So for the existing kayak launch, there's a boardwalk plan to make it ADA accessible, and then 1,500 feet of concrete pathway that runs from the existing parking lot around to a concrete head wall. And then the baseball field, that plan would include new fences, would include the dirt infield with the clay, it would include ADA accessibility, dugouts, sleeving for lighting, those sort of things. And so those plans would take a few weeks to prepare, and then construction could start immediately after Rhythm on the River. And so then you start talking about, do we sod or do we sprig the fields? And so that's where kind of the cost estimating and the unit pricing comes into play, so that we can determine kind of the best use of the funds to get the most bang for the buck. Good. Restroom facilities? Restroom facilities, I would imagine, would not be planned in that budget. I'm not sure if sewer's down there or not.
Before I forget anything else, I want to thank the Powdersville Fire Department, and I can't say enough about our county. Our county has the best fire departments, I believe, in the whole state. You know, what other counties do, what these guys do with as little as they have and little as they get, pales in comparison. I mean, and they do a great job, and I want to make sure, before you leave here tonight, thank the Powdersville Fire Department, support them, they need it, and they just do a great job. I want to make sure I thank them. So with that being said, I want to open up for some questions. Miss Spearman.
Okay, as far as the riffraff, I want to share this with everybody. The riffraff going down there, I go down there once a week, and I just ride around. And I have called the law, and I have taken pictures of that. Because the more you go, and the more you let people know you're down there, they'll stop. They'll get the hint, and they'll say, this is not a cool place to hang out anymore. So, that's just one point. Another point, as far as facilities go, I think 2 of the cans they have down there are from Eco Waste, correct? I would get with Eco Waste and see if he wants to put some more cans down there. He's got one that's enclosed container with 2 bathrooms in it that he might really be willing to put down there for special events like Rhythm on the River. His name's Gary Seymour, talk to him. Down in Lisa Spearman sent you. So, I would definitely talk to him there. But yeah, as far as the riffraff, going back to the riffraff, you just show your face. Let them know you're there. I've taken tag numbers and pictures of people I know. They go down, not to go down there anymore. One young man, I actually got a hold of his mother and told his mother what he was doing. I can guarantee you that he's not going down there anymore.
I mean, honestly, since the football field's been built, I know we talked to the recycle guys on there, and the crime has dropped significantly. Because on any given night at the football field, we have anywhere from, what do we say, about 250 people a night. And I mean, that's why I even push it for the baseball field. That's going to bring in more people.
Right.
And I'm telling you what.
They can't lock it because it's a public park.
Correct, but we have a lot of mama bears there that aren't afraid to call.
They're going to find, don't be afraid to call.
Yeah.
You don't have to confront them. Just take a picture of their car. Take a picture of their tag.
I'm down there every day.
Yeah, he's down there every day. I'm down there once a week.
And there's been more than one case about the resources of
And I've called Anderson County, like you know, we talked about it.
and this golf for being down there have a couple kids up with the riffraff, big time.
Big time, yeah. So, and I would like to, down the road, I know you got plans here to do the baseball, put a playground in there for the kids. Okay, this is what I was telling him earlier. That was my playground when I was growing up. I didn't have any equipment. We just had trees in the river. So, if you could find funding for a playground.
Yeah, there's the list could go along ways, but you know, playground and bathroom facilities, and there's a lot of stuff that can get. There's a you know, it's a big hunk of land down there. It's 47 acres, so there's a lot of usable space down there, and just stay tuned and as much as you can keep involved with this master planning process, I can promise you, as long as I'm in the position, we're going to push for it, and we're going to keep pushing for it, and we're going to keep pushing for it because it's too much of a jewel not to. So that's what we're here for tonight, is to start this process. The past is the past. We're going to move forward, and we're going to bite off of the little chunks along the way, and sometimes we're going to bite off big chunks, but we're going to get there. I can promise you that.
Glad to see something finally happen.
Yes, sir.
Is that for one field, or is that for a wagon wheel, or and what size field is that?
The 130,000 is just to take the existing, what little bit there is of a field, is to bring that field up to usable condition that's ADA compliant. A new field's going to be in that $400,000 range if we had to start from scratch.
That's just one field.
That's one field.
What size? Or what age group?
How many bids did you?
Oh, hold on.
But shockingly, the price, which most of us, we had no idea, is the lights. The lights are $100,000 in themselves. And yeah, it's mind-blowing. Shocker, the price shocking, yeah, that's where it's coming.
The 130,000 does not include any lights.
Yeah, that's right. So you've got 2 baseball fields, one being 225 foot fence.
Okay.
That'll take 10U and 12U, pair them together. And if you got another fence, another field, you're looking at a 180 foot fence. That could pair T-ball and coach's pitch. That's just baseball. That's not even including softball.
Right, I just want to make sure
and all that
so
stuff. That one field, what these guys are doing is immense because as it stands, and I'm sure most of you guys know this, but the youth in this community play baseball in Greenville.
Yeah.
And so it's been huge that these guys have stepped up and just allow the kids that go to Powdersville to play baseball in Powdersville.
So once you get it to a certain point, you can start.
That's correct, that's right. This one field is huge for us. It doesn't enable us to become solely dependent, but it's a step in the right direction. And more important, as you can see the support of the guys that showed up, it lets them know not only are they listening, but they're acting.
So we've got other things on this list, like another practice field for the football, or a place for while they're playing a game that the other teams can warm up and things of that nature. So that's coming down. I also want to mention that the walking trail, boardwalk, all that works. The walking trail, Matt, if I'm correct me wrong, will be done by Rhythm on the River. Okay, good. So look forward for that, and there's more area as funding becomes more available for the water. There's another 1,500 foot, so we could eventually have a half a mile ADA compliant walking trail along the river, which I think would be pretty cool, because there's a lot of people walking dogs down there now, but if we do it, we got to be ADA compliant. So there's the possibility for that coming down the river. Yes, sir, in the back.
So you have 3 to 4 years turnaround for this hospitality tax vote again, is that correct?
Yes.
So if we all in this room continue to petition for that, how fast thereafter does that money get turned around back in the field and things of that nature?
You know, that's a question I don't know, Mr. Burns. You've probably got more experience on the hospitality tax than I do.
On the hospitality tax, after you do that, it would probably take 6 months for you to start accumulating any amount of money. But you can also take part of that money and get a bond with that money. So you can actually start something, not built, but something within a year's time.
Is the $130,000 actually allocated?
The $130,000 we have in the county to do that now, I have a sneaking suspicion it's going to cost more. Is that a bid price? No, sir, that is an estimate. And I would imagine it's going to go.
My personal experiences, I started this back in 2013. We had this very same meeting 6 years ago, and that baseball field is still done.
Well, I think you're going to see it this fall.
About the past,
No.
it brought up the $2.1 million that has been spent.
No. This man is going to have the baseball field, and we have the money.
Once again, thank you for coming. Thank Chief Kuykendall for allowing us to use his room. Representative Katz, Senator Cash, myself will be here. Mr. Burns, Blake will be here. Matt Shutt. We're here for any questions, comments, or ideas. Thank you very much.
Don't forget to sign up.
Thank you so much. I'm going to put this cord up before somebody
How you doing, sir? I'm doing great. I hope you are. Yeah, most of them. I feel the same way.
Good to see you.
Tonight we talked about recreational opportunities in Powdersville, and you're going to be sort of the architect of the master plan. Explain one more time what that means and what people will be able to do to be a part of it. Sure. So the master plan is a community-driven process, and so it'll couple stakeholders, a steering committee, and community input into multiple different variations of a plan, to which then the community essentially get to vote on. And so they'll be able to come to public input meetings, vote online for the elements that they like, the type of plan that they like, and then those plans are consolidated into one final plan with cost estimates, permitting, kind of overarching themes. Because the one main goal is to make sure that Powdersville has a place that they call home, what we call a there. So where is the place that's A+ in Powdersville that everyone would want to relate to, and that's Dolly Cooper Park.
How soon will people begin to see some of this take place?
Sure. So the master planning process will start this spring. At Rhythm on the River, there will definitely be a tent set up, a way to solicit feedback as part of that event. And then hopefully this fall, that process would wrap up and be part of a formal adoption for County Council to then start to implement in a capital improvement budget, and for Representative Katz, Senator Cash to start looking at state funds for implementation.
Tell me about why we had this meeting tonight and why this is important to this community.
So this meeting tonight was to tell the community about what's getting ready to take place at Dolly Cooper and what the community can do to help us as elected officials in the future for Dolly Cooper. So a couple of exciting things that were announced here tonight that we're working on: $350,000 in state and county funds to revamp the kayak launch, to put in some new trails, to get that part of the park rocking and rolling. We're gonna fix the baseball field that's down there now so that the kids can use it for the fall baseball season coming up. And those are two projects that are on the books. Money's ready, and we're ready to start moving dirt on. So we're excited about that. So that was one thing, was to inform the community of that. The other thing was to let them know about the master plan that's coming on, and let them know that over the next couple of months, we're going to have a lot of community input into Dolly Cooper, because it's important for the community to tell us as elected officials what they want to see out there, what they want in their community, and then we can take that input, we can take that plan and go forward and try to capture dollars wherever we can find them, whether it's private dollars, state dollars, county dollars, everything we can do. But we need community input for that.
Were you surprised at the turnout tonight?
Absolutely. We've had several meetings in this community in the past over different topics, and we have, between 30 and 40 people there. Tonight I didn't get a head count, but we had over 100 people, and it's great. It's great to see that. That lets us as elected officials know what this community cares about and what this community is looking forward to. But it also helps us in knowing that this community is behind us, so that we can go and get those dollars and get those things. So yeah, it was a great turnout. I hope that as we continue to have meetings for community input, that we continue to have this turnout and this input.
We had this meeting here tonight.
Well, as Dolly Cooper has grown over the last 10 or 12 years to what it is today, I thought it was important that we start the process of planning, because Powdersville is a lot different than it was 10 years ago. So I thought it was very important we start getting the community involvement and input on how they want Dolly Cooper to look and what activities they want out there and what do they want to do when they go out there with their families. So I thought it was important to start this process tonight and to evolve into a master planning process.
You had a good crowd.
Had a great crowd. It's one of the best town hall type meetings we've had in District 6 since I was elected and took office. So I'm promising by the number of people that showed up, and I hope they keep coming out.
And the growth in Powdersville being so rapid, they're going to expect more park services and things for their kids to do.
Absolutely, and they should. As citizens of Anderson County, for the tax dollars they're paying into the system, they should expect services in parks. And we've got to do a better job as a county to go out and find opportunities of how to fund this, along with our state delegation to make the northern part of the county the jewel it is.